It's 3 p.m. and I call to order the Muskegon County Board of Commissioners, January 11th, Courts of Public Safety Committee meeting. May I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Steer.
Here.
Commissioner Hovey Wright.
Excused.
Commissioner Hughes.
Here.
Commissioner Leering.
Here.
Commissioner Nash.
Here.
Chairman Skolnick.
Here.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Excused.
And Commissioner Pego.
Here. Okay. I'll entertain a motion for an approval of the agenda.
Someone support.
I have a motion support from Commissioner Nash and Commissioner Brown. Is there any discussion, questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, seeing none, that motion passes. Can I have an approval? I'll entertain an approval of the minutes of December 7th.
Support.
I have a motion support from Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Brown. Any questions, comments, or concern regarding December 7th minutes? Okay, seeing none. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and that motion passes. Now we have time set aside for public comment. Comments are limited to 2 minutes, and we ask that you state your name and your location. Is there any public comment in the boardroom? Is there any public comment online?
Kristen, can you put the public on the rest of the sentence?
Over on the right side here.
Why don't you make that big? Because we've all got an agenda in front of us.
I don't see any public
But
comment.
that's not public opinion, that's us.
It's anybody that's called in. Commissioner Hughes, it's all participants that call in. They all are.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, seeing so there is no public comment, I'm going to close public comment and move to items for consideration. The first item for consideration is CPS 22/01-01, Sheriff Poland asking to amend the fiscal year 2022 Coronavirus Public Safety Fund budget 2110. Is that a typo? Is that supposed to be 2021? What?
No, that's the fund number.
That's the fund number, okay. Increasing revenues and expenditures by $14,650 from $6,957 to $21,607.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Nash. Is there a second?
Support.
I have a motion support from Commissioner Nash and Commissioner Skolnick. Is there any questions, comments, or
I
concerns?
do have a question.
Okay, Commissioner Hughes.
It says increasing revenues and expenditures and from $14,000 to $650 to $6,957. Is that each one or that's the total?
Is the sheriff here or undersheriff or someone can speak to that? Angie, would you? Thank you.
Hello, Finance Director Angela Gachewski. This is a grant that was received by the Sheriff's Department, so it has offset.
Thank you. So there would be no cost to the general.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Kathy, can you let the record show that Commissioner Wilkins has joined us? Thank you. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Motion number 1. Oh, Commissioner Nash.
Can we get an explanation what this actually does?
Is Sheriff on the line? Or?
And you know.
Hi there, I can help you again on that one. This is a grant that we got earlier in the pandemic. It covers increased costs due to coronavirus. So for the Sheriff's Department, that was an increase in medical supplies. It was some equipment to be able to sterilize desks. They did some work to put up enclosures and things like that to protect and separate people.
So it's safe to say most of this has already been spent.
It has all been spent, yes.
So this is reimbursement.
It is, yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions,
One other
comments?
question.
Yes, Commissioner Hughes.
Is this over and above the original grant?
No, it isn't. It
It's
just
just a
was,
withdrawal from it?
yeah, it just was not put into the budget because we weren't aware that they were going to be spending that in this fiscal year. The grant ended as of the end of December.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing none, I ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Leering,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Seer,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego.
No. And that motion passes. Moving on to CPS 22/01-02, Community Corrections, Scott Lehman, asking to award Kelly Austin to provide cognitive behavioral services in the jail and authorize the board chair to sign the contract for services with the option to renew for 2 subsequent years, depending on availability of grant funding and mutual agreement of both parties.
Support.
I have a motion and support from Commissioner Wilkins and Commissioner Nash. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns?
Thank you.
Commissioner Hughes, Scott?
Scott, isn't this something that was previously provided by HealthWest under their contract?
No, this is actually through the grant. This has nothing to do with HealthWest.
Okay, and I have another question if I may.
Yes, Commissioner Hughes.
I'd also like to know, where's the money coming from?
It's through the Community Corrections Grant.
Commissioner Skolnick?
Yeah, I'm in favor of it. I don't know exactly what it is, but what is cognitive behavioral services? I mean, what is cognitive behavioral?
It's just basically, it's for offenders to get them to think more positively. They have to look at their own personal situations and come up with replacement thinking to hopefully keep them out of trouble in the future.
I have another question.
Yes, Commissioner Hughes.
Have you done any of this before?
Yes, this
Has
is
it been
a
successful?
renewal. I think we're going on the 7th or 8th year.
You should have some results by then, so is it successful?
We believe it is. I believe 89% of the people that have taken it in the jail have not returned to jail within a 1-year period. So
And how many, is it volunteer, so
it's actually ordered by the judges.
I see.
So it's
Thank you, Scott.
ordered to it.
Commissioner Wilkins?
Yes, we have used the services before, have we not?
Yes, for approximately 8 years.
Same person?
Yes, actually for both.
Okay.
Commissioner Nash?
I just wanted to say, being in therapy and in practice therapy, some of these programs are great programs, and sometimes they don't always have an immediate effect. But even some that may return, sometimes the message or the theme will penetrate. And I've seen people actually revolve in. One person was in like 8 times, and then finally they just decided that they wanted to change. So it's up to them. It's all in timing, but it's also whenever that message finally gets through. And without this program, it would never get through.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay. I think I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Leering,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Commissioner Seer.
Yes.
Commissioner Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. And moving on to CPS 22/01-03, Community Corrections, Scott Lehman, asking to award Catholic Charities to provide cognitive behavioral services in the community and authorize the board chair to sign the contract for services with the option to renew for 2 subsequent years, depending on availability of grant funding and mutual agreement of both parties.
So moved. Support.
The motion support from Commissioner Nash and Commissioner Skolnick. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Commissioner Hughes?
Yeah, is this grant funded too, Scott?
Scott Lamb, Community Corrections. Yes, it is.
This is.
Yes, and this is actually just in the community. The other one was for the jail. So we have 2
Thank you.
separate.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, seeing no, ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Leering,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. Moving on to CPS 22/01-04, Circuit Court Sandra Vanderhyde, asking to add a fully grant-funded hourly specialty court enforcement officer position, rate number 2070, with a salary range of $22.84 to $28.75 per hour to the Circuit Court for Recovery Court.
So moved.
Support.
We have motion and support from Commissioner Nash and Commissioner Hughes. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Commissioner Nash?
Just for informational purposes, how many years running now is this program?
Sandra Vanderhyde, Circuit Court Administrator. Commissioner Nash, we started the Recovery Court in 2019.
Thank you, Sandra.
We've had other specialty courts. District Court has had their sobriety court prior to that.
That's what I was thinking about sobriety court.
That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking too.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
Just one question. This is new. So how are things going with this? I know it's something we ramped up in 2019, but how well is it doing? Is it doing as good as sobriety court?
It's doing very well. We're actually up to 46 participants right now. We have a cap of 50. We have a waiting list currently. Alicia Riedel, she is a key player in this program, and she just talked about last Monday when they had some hearings after the holidays. A lot of participants talked about how it was the first Christmas they've been able to spend with their families, the first Christmas they've been sober, the first Christmas they've been able to buy gifts for their children. So it's doing very well. Thanks for asking.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Leering,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. Moving on to CPS 22/01-05, Circuit Court Sandra Vanderhyde, asking to approve the creation of a new hourly juvenile transition center administrative assistant position at pay table grade QU-00173, 1663 per hour to $20.78 per hour.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Brown
Support.
and a second from Commissioner Nash. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
I have a question.
Commissioner Hughes?
Sandra, is this, did we lose a person in that position or are you creating a position?
So good question. We had a person in this position and it was a court services specialist position. So they were split. In 20 hours a week, this person would go to the juvenile transition center to do these administrative functions. And then 20 hours a week, they would come back to family court. That person has resigned. And what we decided to do with that position is it was tough to have one person having to go back and forth. So we're absorbing the full-time court services specialist position in the family court. And by changing the funding stream, we're making it a cost savings and we can at no cost add this half-time hourly administrative assistant to the juvenile transition center. Now, it's our understanding that once we post it, the person who resigned, there's a good chance she's going to apply for it. So that's the full story regarding this position.
Will she be eligible for that?
She will be eligible for it, yes.
Is it because of the money?
Why she resigned? It was mainly because it was back and forth in both positions, and she really would like to
Oh,
just
I
focus
see.
on that type of
I
work.
see. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Nash?
Did you say that position will be full-time or part-time?
So this particular position will be an hourly position that will be capped at 20 to 25 hours a week. We don't need a full-time person, but what we did is we used to have that court services specialist split, and we've absorbed that full-time position now at family court. So we're just adding a half-time position at the JTC or hourly position at the JTC.
I guess I'm wondering, are you sure she's going to apply for that? I mean,
It's totally up to her if she does, but last we knew she was interested. So we're going to post it and see who applies. And we do hope she'd apply because she was really good at it and likes it.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego.
Yes, and that motion passes. Okay, moving on to CPS 22/01-05, Circuit Court Sandra Vanderhyde asking to approve the creation of a new hourly, oh, whoops, I just did that one. Sorry.
06.
CPS 22/01-06, Emergency Services Richard Warner, asking to move to approve the sole source purchase of 10 mobile fingerprint scanners at a cost of $35,174. This is 100% grant funded using Homeland Security funding with no cost to the county.
So
Support.
I have a motion and support from Commissioner Hughes and Commissioner Wilkins. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Larry?
I disagree with this motion coming forward. Secondly, I don't believe that the residents in Muskegon County need to be fingerprinted before they're taken into custody. Not sure of the constitutional rights, but until they're Mirandized, I don't believe that we need to be fingerprinting the citizens in Muskegon County. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Larry. Are there any, Commissioner Nash?
I'd like to get an explanation from Rich on exactly what this is for.
Rich?
Rich Warner, Director of Emergency Services. This is a device for the police departments in our county. Each agency will get one to use. What they do is if they have a traffic stop that someone doesn't have ID, this is the way of proving who they are. So they can scan their fingerprint. If they're in the system, it'll show up whether they are who they are or they're not who they are.
Thank you, Rich. Any other questions?
I guess I do have a
Commissioner Hughes?
question, just to kind of follow up on Commissioner Larry's. If they're not in the system, does it store their fingerprint?
I couldn't answer that. I don't know enough about that.
Thank you.
Is the sheriff here?
No.
Let me check to see if he's online.
I guess that's the question I would have is.
He is not online.
If I don't have ID and I don't want to be fingerprinted, then what?
I don't think the cops board brought this project to me 2 years ago.
Who brought it to you?
The cops board, it's a board of all the police chiefs get together and talk about issues, and they bring me law enforcement projects or stuff they need. And they brought this to me 2 years ago, and I'm just finally able to afford to fund it with Homeland Security money.
Any other questions, comments,
I would
concerns?
just like to reiterate my statement. We have no business fingerprinting the residents in Muskegon County. The residents don't typically know their rights, and once they're fingerprinted, they're going to be in the system whether they're guilty or not. And quite frankly, I think this is a violation of their civil rights.
Commissioner Nash?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to table this to the next committee meeting.
We have a motion to table. Do we have a second?
Support.
Or
We have a motion to table from Commissioner Nash and a support from Commissioner Wilkins. We have to vote on the table first, so I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer,
No.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
No.
Commissioner Nash,
yes.
Chairman Skolnick.
And can I just, we're voting to table.
Voting to table it to the,
The next committee meeting.
Commissioner Pego.
and no, that motion fails. Okay, so back to the original motion. There's quite a bit of concerns. Are there any other comments regarding this, or do we want to move to a vote? Yes, Commissioner Skolnick.
So
Or Chair
just,
Skolnick?
I missed that. So the motion to table failed?
Correct.
Okay, now we're voting on the motion to go forward with the purchase of this.
Yes, if we vote no, that would, the motion does not pass.
Well, I'm sorry.
If you vote no, the motion fails, it does not pass.
Okay.
If the majority vote no, if you vote yes, then you want it to pass.
Thank you.
So is there any other questions, comments, or concerns regarding this motion? Yes, Commissioner Smollett?
I sort of understand the objection to taking fingerprints. I'm just trying to, it seems to me, I mean, I was in the service, so my fingerprints are long since recorded. But if there's a situation with law enforcement or terrorism, whatever, really trying to positively identify somebody seems like it would be important. You know, I understand what Commissioner Lawrence said, but I'm wondering, is that a valid argument? I don't know.
Commissioner Nash?
Well, that's the reason why I was trying to make the motion to table, because there's some questions that should be asked. There are some issues regarding people being forced to identify themselves. And I think that's what some of the concern may be. And that's why I'd rather table it to get some questions asked in regards to this before I make a vote, because right now I'm not feeling comfortable with it.
The state police have them in their cars.
If it fails, excuse me, sorry. If it fails, it can always be a motion brought back up again. Just if
No,
if
that's fine. I'm just letting you know I'm not comfortable with it.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Commissioner
One
Smollett?
last comment. It just seems to me that proving somebody, like, if I don't have any identity, I can just say anybody's name and nobody really knows who I am. So it seems like there's got to be a way.
There is a violation, I believe. The sheriff's not here. I'm not going to answer those questions actually for him, but yeah. Commissioner Nash?
And I say this because, you know, you see this all the time, and I was just watching an episode where even some young youth who were falsely accused by the police as being the perpetrators, until actually the business owner came out and said, no, those are not the people. There were some other guys. So they were trying to forcefully get them to identify themselves. You see it all the time. And this, I guess that's my concern, is when a crime isn't committed and then some are being forced or trying to be convinced to identify themselves. And we do have constitutional rights to not have to do that unless we've committed crime or, you know, under arrest or something. But those are my concerns.
Commissioner Wilkins?
Yes. What is the charge to the individual to have the fingerprinting done? Do they have to pay individually?
This is if they get stopped by a policeman. So they want their fingerprints then, not going in and getting your fingerprints taken.
Right.
Which meaning the law enforcement want to take the fingerprints, not the person.
Yeah, no, the
being
person
stopped.
doesn't want to get it for some reason.
That's why the question is against their constitutional rights, their civil rights. Commissioner Brown?
Yes, thank you. You made a comment that this was brought up to the board some time ago and did
Not this board, the police officers, the chiefs all have a board, and they get together, it's called Cops Board. And they come together and they talk about issues they're having and best practices and so forth. And I always encourage them to bring me projects that they may not be able to afford in their budget, that I may be able to cover Homeland Security money. So they brought me this project, and it took me a while to, one, be able to try to find funding, and two, get some more information to find out if I had to do an RFP. But I found out that it's a sole source. The state police have these in their cars. That's why we don't have to do an RFP, because the state's already done that. And I really can't speak on all the capabilities of this. I'm not a police officer. This is something they brought me. But I could easily next month have this filled full of police chiefs, and they can tell you what they could use this for and all the different things.
Thank you, Rich.
I think the brochure, I don't know if that was attached or not.
Yep.
There was. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Skolnick, you have a question?
I just, you know, I recently heard a story about an individual who served, I think, 28 years in prison. And then because of new DNA technology, they went back and looked at the evidence, and he was not guilty. He said he wasn't guilty, but of course, nobody believed him. So he served 28 years in prison, essentially for something he didn't do. So I'm thinking that the taking of fingerprints, sort of a double-edged sword. It could prove somebody is innocent. See what I'm getting at? I mean, I understand somebody may not.
This
want to
is,
be
I
identified.
believe the question at hand for this particular motion isn't if they're innocent or not. This is to for identification purposes. So it's a different motion. Any other questions, comments, or concerns?
I do.
Commissioner Hughes?
Rich, do you have any idea what would happen to the person if they refused?
I have no idea. Like I said, I'm not a police officer, but I don't know any of those laws.
Scott, do you know what you don't know? Because I would think they would be taken down to the police department, then fingerprinted.
I know, but yeah. The capabilities are in that paperwork. It can tell you everything it can do. That's just one thing that I remember from saying that, they can identify somebody, whether it's them or not, if they're in the system.
Commissioner Nash?
I would like to make the motion to postpone this until next meeting.
I'll support that.
Okay, we have a motion to postpone from Commissioner Nash and a second from Commissioner Hughes. Mr. Homier, can you explain the difference for everybody between the table and the postponement?
Yeah. Yeah. So the motion to table was not particularly in order, only because the motion to table is to table something for consideration later at the same meeting. A motion to postpone is the correct motion to postpone to a later meeting.
So essentially it's the same motion.
They're different. They're different. I would say it was used incorrectly the first time it was made because it sought to table a matter to a different meeting and not at the same meeting.
Okay.
A motion to postpone is to defer it to a different meeting altogether.
Okay. What meeting are you proposing to postpone this to, Commissioner Nash? The next Courts and Public Safety meeting. Okay. And we will need a roll call vote on that, please.
This one, Jordan.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Spallner.
if Mr. Warner, is there a deadline, a time deadline or anything on this?
We're good on this one because it's coming out of the FY.
There was a motion to postpone. We're supposed to continue discussions. I don't believe so.
I just want to make sure it's not going to mess up the grade. Okay.
Commissioner, or I'm sorry, Mr. Homier, can you clarify the Robert's Rules of Order? Are we supposed to continue discussion or do we have to move forward with the postponement of vote?
You can move forward with that.
Okay, we need to move forward with the vote. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Steer,
No.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
No.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Chairman Skolnick,
No.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Pago.
No, and that motion fails. Okay, we're back to the original motion again. Is there any more questions, comments, or concerns?
Hold on for a second. What was the count on that vote?
4-4, so it fails. Okay, I'm going to call for a vote, a roll call vote on CPS 22/01-06. Thank you.
Commissioner Steer,
No.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Laring,
No.
Commissioner Nash,
No.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
No.
Commissioner Pago.
No, and that motion fails. Okay, moving on to unfinished business. Are there any unfinished business to come before this committee? Any unfinished business to come before this committee today? Okay, seeing none, is there any new business to come before the committee? Any new business?
Madam Chair, I might have an item for new business.
Okay, Commissioner Larry.
You excused Commissioner Hovey, right? You know what her excuse is?
I do not. The board chair told me she was excused.
That information for the board?
She just asked to be excused.
He said, not sure. She called me and
Can you speak into your mic, hon?
she called me and because of her health, she's not going to be.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Commissioner Wilkins. Let me catch up my notes here, folks.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Laring.
so this brings up the issue of would be January the 4th, her voting in here with the acknowledgement of potentially COVID exposure. I am wondering if I can address corporate counsel and the administration to look into this for me, please.
Are you making a motion?
Right now, I'm just asking if they would. If I have to make a motion, I will. But I think it's something the administration can direct the health director to, if she exposed the board on January the 4th, there's some legal complications to that if she's still ill from that COVID incident.
I think she suggested that was the reason that she sat in the audience last meeting.
Right. So that's what I heard her say. And I would like that investigated through the public health records.
Can I recommend everybody speak in your microphone so everybody can hear you?
I'd ask the administration to check with public health director to find out the legalities of Marcia Hovey right here on January the 4th with potential COVID exposure, knowing COVID exposure to the rest of the board.
Okay, any other question?
It wasn't a motion. He said he would go through it. So.
I'm just
I understand. I'm
stating that we have to investigate every commissioner that's had COVID and any exposure, not just Commissioner Hubbard, right? So if we're going to do it, we might as well do it for everybody.
Except she acknowledged in the room that she.
No, she did not. That's something you're making up right now. She didn't acknowledge that.
I'm not making anything up.
Did. But you're putting that in her mouth. Let her say that.
Commissioner Rilstein just said it the same.
No, she did not. She just said her health. She did not say she had COVID.
She did.
She did.
I heard the words that she said.
She said her health reason.
Regarding the COVID.
Anyway, everybody else that's had COVID needs to be investigated too.
Any other new business to come before the board or any other comments regarding Commissioner Laring's new business? No new business, no other new business. Okay, moving on to Muskegon County resolution to ensure all constitutional rights of inmates at the Muskegon County Jail. The resolution was included in your packet. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns regarding the resolution?
Do we need a resolution for this? Don't we do this anyway?
No, just a different one. So do we need a motion to move this forward? This resolution.
Do you want to make that motion,
I will
Commissioner?
make the motion to move this investigation forward.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Laring made a motion to move the resolution investigation forward. Do we have a second? I'll second that. Is there any questions, comments, or concerns on the resolution?
I do.
Commissioner Hughes?
I was under the impression that we did not have the authority to place him on administrative leave. Would you answer that for me?
I believe this resolution only says recommendation. It doesn't stipulate that it has to be done.
I'd just like to know if we have the authority to do that.
No, I don't believe you do. But I don't know too, I guess, if we're talking about recommendation, I don't know who the board is making the recommendation to.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Laring?
So the recommendation about the sheriff being placed on administrative leave, this recommendation where this resolution is to the Attorney General. The Attorney General, the governor has the authority to place the sheriff on administrative leave. The Attorney General can make that recommendation to the governor, and the governor can accomplish that task. And that is what this motion states. We don't have the ability as county commissioners to do any of this. We are asking the Attorney General in the federal government, if the Attorney General won't, to look into this, because we don't have the investigative powers here as a county commission. We're asking our higher magistrate to look into this issue, and this is what that recommendation about administrative leave. Since I've been on the commission, we've had 3 deaths in this jail that have went with, in my opinion, a subpar investigation. And we're asking the Attorney General to look into this and make the recommendation to the governor to place the sheriff on administrative leave.
Thank you, Commissioner Laring. Any other Commissioner Nash?
I'm going to be honest about this. I think this is really just a headline getter. We already have the Attorney General involved, and there's already been an investigation and some charges that have been brought in previous cases. So what are we doing? We're just pushing for headlines. And I think this is kind of getting ridiculous. I think also, you know, this seems more like a policy than a resolution. And I'm just not for the headlines. I just think we need to let the investigation continue, as we said before, and then see what things we can do afterwards. But right now, I think we're getting in the middle of something that we don't need to get in the middle of, because there's a lot of legal issues still on the table. So I think we're just making a mess of it.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. Commissioner Brown?
Yeah, I'd like to ask corporate counsel for an opinion at this point on this resolution or any guidance.
Well, as I read the resolution directs corporate counsel to request an investigation and policy review by the Attorney General, the United States Attorney General's Office, and the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice. You know, there's a current investigation regarding the most recent fatality at the jail. I don't think it's finished, so I think that in some respects it may be premature, but I'll let the board decide that policy issue.
So what I heard was it may be a bit premature to.
Well, I don't know anything about the current investigation, what's going on with it, the outcome of it, what's been done. So I'm certainly not informed enough to know what the outcome will be of that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Skolnick?
Yes, Commissioner Laring said that in his opinion, I don't remember exactly what he said, but the investigations were not satisfactory. Something. And making it seem like we did our own investigations, but I mean, the investigation about what happened in this most current incident is being done by the state. We're not investigating ourselves. And it just makes this thing sound we don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to the gentleman. He may have had a heart attack. It could have been completely natural. None of us know. We don't know what happened. So I would like to make a motion to postpone this until the outcome of the report of the Attorney General on the current case.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion to postpone until the outcome of investigative report from Commissioner Skolnick and a second from Commissioner Nash. Any questions, comments to Commissioner Larry?
We can, so motion postpone is open to the state, correct?
Limited, yes.
Okay. So in a previous meeting prior to the first of the year, there was a consensus that you were to reach out to the Attorney General's office and start this. You say there's a current investigation. The previous sheriff did his own investigation into the Bolt House case and found no fault. What investigation are you speaking to currently is underway?
My understanding is that the state police are conducting an investigation of the most current fatality, and they've conducted interviews. Other than that, I don't have any particular knowledge about anything else that is.
So do you recall this board asking you to reach out to the Attorney General's office?
Yeah, but
has that happened?
No, because my understanding from that was we were going to wait for the results of the current investigation that was made by XP.
So where did that consensus come from?
That was just my understanding. If yours is different than that, I'm happy to entertain it. That was my understanding of the discussion that we had from this current one, because
so that's the problem with consensus, because we didn't vote on something at the time, and you heard something different than I did, And it's all conjecture because there was no vote. This brings it to a vote. We want the Attorney General to look at it. So I'm going to no on the postponement.
Aren't we discussing closed meeting minutes?
No, that wasn't in closed meeting.
That wasn't in closed session? I could have swore it was.
I don't know.
Any other questions, comment, or concerns regarding the postponement motion? No? Okay, I'll ask for a roll call vote on postponing this resolution until after the investigation, the current investigation.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Commissioner Leering,
No.
Chairman Skolnick,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilkins,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Sear,
Yes.
Commissioner Pego.
No. And that motion passes. Is there any public comments? At this time, we have set aside for public comment on any item that you wish to talk about. You can address the board for 2 minutes. If you state your name. Any comment in public? In the boardroom, no. Any online? I don't see any. We'll close public comment. Is there any final board comments? Commissioner Skolnick?
No, I just wanted to say, yesterday at 4 o'clock, there was the final piece of the retirement of the Chief Circuit Court Judge, Tim Hicks, up on the 6th floor. I was there, and the county administrator was there, and Judge Hicks served this county for 25 years. Did a great job. I actually knew him before. If I remember right, I think I was on the interview committee when he was appointed for that. And it was long before I was county commissioner. He's a personal friend. And I just wanted to say this. I know I've had dinner with him a lot. And in personal situations, I don't know what goes on in this courtroom, but back then when the newspaper reported everything, I remember asking him about a case that he had, just because I'd read it in the paper. We were having a great time, and he turned into a different person, and he looked at me and says, "I can't talk about that." And we went back to having a good time. But I mean, I kind of, looking back on it, I'm grateful that he did that. And that's what he's supposed to do. The guy's a straight arrow. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Skolnick. We definitely appreciate and thank Chief Judge Hicks for his long time service in Muskegon County. Are there any other final board comments? Commissioner Sear?
I'd like to make a request if corporate counsel would contact the East State Police and see where they are in this investigation. If they can give us some idea if they're going to have an answer in a week or a month or a year.
So you'd like to ask corporate counsel to find out from Michigan State Police how long before we get any kind of
Just
results?
some idea. I mean, obviously they're not going to give us a date, but
do we need to make a motion for that, or is that like a consensus thing, or what do we? One moment, Commissioner Skolnick.
Yes, I'm just curious, is that something that the prosecutor should do, or?
That's what I was just, I don't know. That's what I was waiting for Mike Comier to finish answering Commissioner Sears' question.
it doesn't matter to me who does it. I don't have an answer.
Yeah, I'll make some inquiries and see if I can get.
Okay, that's all I'm asking.
Timeline.
Thank you, Mr. Homier. Do you have anything else, Commissioner Skolnick? Any other final board comments? Okay, seeing none, we are adjourned at 3:44.